and then you place it on the table, and you can rotate it.
Wow,
You can,
that was cool. Quest Pro device, they wear it, and now they are transformed. You can crouch, kneel
oh my God.
in this virtual world, experience all of these things, which is like seeing my loved ones in great fidelity, hearing their voice, the way it will sound when I'm in front of them. Maybe there is the hustle bustle of an Indian bazaar.
Sorry, if AI comes along, AR and VR are gonna accelerate in their development, right?
Yes. Doing the demo at TED, he gets a call and he just raises his left palm up, and on the palm, there is a projection of his wife calling him, and he could like answer the call. And we will probably have the Apple VR headset in a couple of weeks. And hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tech Banter. My name is Ankur. I'm a tech professional based out of Seattle, Washington.
Hi, I'm Vishal. I'm a software developer in a big tech company, and I'm also based in Seattle, Washington. So, Ankur, what is the topic for today?
It's a topic that I'm super interested in. It's augmented reality and virtual reality, the past, present, and future.
So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this topic because I think that's the future, and most of us are definitely gonna encounter this future. So, before we start discussing into AR VR, I think as per our tradition, right? I want you to introduce your drink today.
I am drinking something different. I'm drinking an Asahi beer. It's a Japanese beer. Maybe a lot of you might already know about it. So, yeah, I'm excited to try this one out. So, yeah, what about you?
So I am keeping it old. Uh, this is just club soda with some vodka in it. So that
Why Vishal? Why so? Nothing fancy. Last time I think you were drinking an old fashioned. From old fashioned to just
straight.
what
Yeah.
can.
So I think I am going on a camping trip this weekend, and I think I'm gonna drink there as well. So I am trying to keep it under check.
You're saving all the drinking for the camping trip.
Yes, yes, Ankur.
Cheers.
So talking about AR VR, Ankur, when was your first interaction with these technologies?
My first experience that I think is closer to the VR experience of today would be, um, I think, watching 3D movies in theaters.
Okay.
So 3D and 4D movies. I think the most recent one I had was in New York. I visited New York with my family, and we went to the Natural History Museum, and there you had a 4D movie. I think it was like a 30-minute movie. Uh, it was about nature, right? It was about migratory birds, and they had a 4D experience. So wherein everything was in 3D, the visuals were in 3D, and like if there was wind blowing, right, there would be actual air which would blow into your face, or if there was a scene related to splashing of water, there would actually water droplets that would hit your face. So yeah, I have had like those kind of experiences, and for me those are probably my initial experiences, the 3D movies and the 4D kind of movies.
Awesome.
What about you?
So I think for me, I started having this experience of virtual reality because I play a lot of games. When you play a game, we used to do multiplayer games, and in that,
Right.
usually what was happening was we were forming a strategy for something that was not real. It was in the game, right? And the players we together used to form a strategy, and that was my first experience. Even though it was not immersive at that time, we were just having some controller in our hand and couple of bunch of friends coming together and trying to complete a task, a mission. So that was my first VR experience, and this dates back around 12 years from now, right? Maybe more, 15 years from now. Um,
Which game was this?
so we used to have Counter Strike,
Hmm.
and in Counter Strike there was a multiplayer
Right,
component.
right.
We had a lot of fun in that game, right? Like it was amazing. And after that, first time I got to see the immersive HoloLens experience was there. So
Hmm.
it was on a trial. It was kept in one of the Microsoft's studios, and I got to try it out. Um,
Nice.
when I wore that headset, I was able to look around and see all the planets around me.
Hmm.
So it was a VR experience. So everything else was blocked, and I was able to see objects. Literally, like I was even able to. There were gestures to hold the objects and move them as well.
Nice. So you had to wear a head-mounted display for
It was.
seeing the.
I was wearing the HoloLens that Microsoft, the hardware that Microsoft has produced. I was wearing that, and I was able to see some objects, and I was able to play with those objects.
Nice.
That
Awesome.
that was my first immersive experience, and this is again around 9 to 10 years old, right? Like
Wow.
so, yeah. My first experience the VR was in gaming and trying out
But would
HoloLens.
you call it a VR experience, Counter Strike?
Um, it was not a VR immersive VR experience, but
Right.
when I say it is kind of VR, that is where I started feeling that there can be a world
You're
where
lost in the world.
all of us can go there and try to do certain things, right?
Got it. Hmm.
So
Interesting.
it was not immersive, as in there was no 3D, there was no field view or any other hardware that was required. But basically, the gaming thing was giving us a platform so that everyone can go over there, and
Yeah.
everyone is in that world at that point, and the actions that your friend is doing is going to change the way you are playing your game.
Right.
So in a sense it was a virtual world where we were together.
Yeah.
So kind of a virtual reality, right? Not in 3D, not in fully immersive way, but
Right.
still some sense of, I got my idea of having a virtual world from there.
Hmm.
Earlier I never thought that you can make virtual worlds, right? But after playing these games, I came to know that, hey, in software we can literally create virtual worlds, right? And they can be fun, they can be exciting, you can make strategies over there. So
Yeah. Actually, Counter Strike is an interesting example because I know you could make your own maps in Counter Strike as well, and
yeah,
a lot of people used to do that. Like outside the maps that are standard as part of the game, you could make your own map. So you're right. Like it falls on the spectrum of virtual reality, but at a very early stage of virtual reality compared to where we are today.
that time it was all 2D, right? And I will not say even 2D, it was within a screen, right?
Yeah,
Now nowadays virtual reality has moved in your surroundings. It is so immersive that literally you feel that you are in that world, right? Instead of um,
yeah.
yeah, instead of just imagining having this boundaries of screen and everything, now it will be fully immersive.
I thought like it would be good to start with setting some basic definitions for virtual reality and augmented reality.
Okay.
And uh, I think lot of people already know the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality, but maybe for people who are new to these concepts, it might be just good for us to set some basic definitions. So, like starting with virtual reality, right? Virtual reality is a completely simulated experience wherein typically the person who is experiencing the virtual reality has to wear some gears to experience it. So, for example, the most common gear that somebody has to wear is the head mounted display, which has like displays and lens and eye tracking device, and then you might also have to hold controllers that tells the virtual reality world where your hands are, what kind of movement you are doing, and using all that, it creates the virtual experience for you, right? And augmented reality is, I would actually say, it is kind of a subset of virtual reality, but the way augmented reality differs is you're basically overlaying the some kind of digital element on top of your real world.
Yes.
So both of them have different applications. So a lot of the virtual reality applications are into gaming, as you mentioned. You can do a lot of training and education using virtual reality. Then on the augmented reality side, the applications, something that we probably all of us know, is in social media. A lot of us are aware about the Snapchat filters, Instagram filters. So that's like a great example of application of augmented reality. And then there is a lot of application of AR in retail for trying out things before you are purchasing. We'll talk in detail about these things. There is also like overlap of applications between VR and AR. Like gaming is an area where both AR and VR is used. So there are a lot of AR games that use augmented reality as well. So that's like at a high level, those are like the differences between VR and AR. So all throughout this particular episode, we are going to talk about the past, the present, the challenges, and the future of both AR and VR. For each of those categories, we are going to talk about. We'll go back and forth between VR and AR, and while we do that, we'll also look at certain either images or videos as we kind of talk through it and see the videos together. If somebody is just listening to this episode, it's a it might be a good idea to kind of watch it on YouTube so that you have a much better immersive experience
Yeah.
of this podcast as well. So with that definition out of our way, where do you want to start? Yeah,
Let Ankur, let's start with how did this AR VR started, right? What was the inflection point of this, or how do we see this technology emerging, right?
I think we the obviously the history goes back long way, right? All this, it's a pretty complex technology that we have today. Things that are this complex start from very simple things like uh, simple two-dimensional painting, wherein we kind of try to hundreds of years back, people used to like have some painters paint or draw pictures of their loved ones so that even after they are no longer in the world, they could kind of remember them and experience them when they are gone. So obviously, like, that's a history that goes back a long way. But I think like the history that's very recent and more relevant to this discussion, I would say like it starts from around 1960s. I think one of the milestone events that happened in the whole AR VR journey was in 1968. Ivan Sutherland, he created the first head-mounted display, which had tracking and a very immersive experience, and it was called the Sword of Damocles. It was primitive, both in terms of user interface and visual realism. And the head mounted display was obviously very heavy because we are talking about what, like almost like more than 50-60 years back. It was hung from the ceiling and extremely bulky, but like it goes back that those many years, right? So almost like 60 years back is when the first VR experience device was created.
Yeah.
So that's considered like a very milestone moment in the history of VR. If we move a little bit ahead after 1968, I think something notable that happened was in 1991 when Sega, which was a game developer, announced that they had a headset called the Sega VR. Again, these things didn't become mainstream, or like you couldn't just go to a shop and buy one of these VR headsets, but they built like a prototype which was shown in the Consumer Electronics Show. It came in the news and kind of got some buzz, right? So Sega's VR, I think, was an important milestone that people should know about. Then I think when 2000 started, the development and like the funding in this whole VR technology kind of, I think it went through a lot of low period during that time. There was not a lot of investment into VR, and I think the reason was probably because lot of the technology was not really ready yet. It was not yet the time for VR, and also internet, World Wide Web was the hot thing, right? It was really like taking off. So a lot of the focus, the funding actually went into all these internet startups like Amazon, Google, PayPal, etc., right? And like the funding into VR kind of slowed down. But
Yeah.
things changed, right? And in 2010, a young guy, I think he was like 16 years old during that time, or maybe like 17 years old, a young guy called Palmer Luckey, he invented Oculus Rift. And
Amazing.
he basically, I think he launched it on Kickstarter with some very little amount of money. I think we should kind of small kind of detour and talk about Palmer Luckey. I think he's the person who single-handedly revived the whole virtual reality technology in 2010, right? So this guy is I think he's from California. As of right now, he's like 30 years old. uh, and we are talking about 2010 is when he invented Oculus Rift. So what, like a 17, 18-year old kid in his parents garage invents Oculus Rift and does a lot of innovative things with the device that he builds. For the first time, does the whole VR experience with a lot of low latency, brings in lot of optimization. And then obviously his company gets acquired by Facebook during that time, today's Meta, in 2014 for
Oh,
$3 billion. So
wow.
a 20-year-old Palmer Luckey sells his company to Facebook for $3 billion, right?
Amazing.
For people who don't know, Palmer Luckey eventually ends up leaving Facebook due to some controversies. I think in 2017, he leaves Meta and he ends up starting another company. And this time he gets into the whole defense space and he starts a company called Anduril, which is, again, today it's like a multi-billion-dollar company, right? So Palmer Luckey is a very, very interesting character, and it's extraordinary that somebody within like 30 years of age creates two multi-billion-dollar companies
Yeah.
and extremely innovative companies in their own right.
So definitely, like, I was like, when I heard about, I was very inspired, to be honest.
He's as I said, very interesting guy. Um, okay, so we touched on Palmer Luckey. So Palmer Luckey starts Oculus Rift, gets acquired by Facebook, and now once Facebook acquires Oculus, now there's like a lot of activity in this space, right? It kind of reinvigorates the whole space, and a lot of the incumbents like Google, Sony PlayStation, HTC, they also start like pouring in a lot of money into the VR technology. So in 2014, PlayStation VR gets launched. Then HTC Vive. So HTC's first VR device gets launched in 2015. Google launches their own VR device, which was a very interesting and a very different take on the VR head-mounted display. So they launched something called the Cardboard, which is literally a cardboard box in which you can actually put your Android mobile phone and use the phone screen as a display, right? So
Wow.
it let people develop on top of it and kind of hack it, like create their own head mounted displays. So Google Cardboard, so that thing happened in 2019. Oculus Rift and Quest devices are released, which had the inside out eye tracking. So
Hmm.
inside the head mounted display, it could track exactly where your eyeballs were actually looking at, which gives them the ability to create even more immersive and realistic virtual reality experiences. Then there were
Yeah.
companies like Valve releases their own device. Valve is a company which is traditionally they have been into a lot of game development. So like Dota is a very famous game that is developed by Valve. And another interesting fact about Valve is they are headquartered not too far from where we are sitting. So they are actually a Bellevue based company. So which I was very excited to learn about. So, and then yeah, and in 2020, Quest 2 gets launched by Meta. The Quest Pro gets launched. Sony PlayStation VR 2 was released in 2023. Yeah, that's like the very recent history. A lot of development is going on in this space, but clearly there's one company which has been kind of the leader so far in the VR space, and that has been Meta. 80% of the head mounted displays are actually from Meta, right? So yeah, so they basically put in all their chips into the whole VR and metaverse space, and it only remains to be seen how that kind of plays out. So that's kind of
So
a quick 5 minutes
yeah.
history of the whole VR space.
So if you see this, like there is so many, like we can see how difficult it was, right? The adoption and everything. Initially, the struggle was very big. But if you see on the AR space, right? There was this company called Niantic. Basically, in 2015, they just created one simple app called Pokemon Go. And it goes viral. It became a huge phenomenon. That's the power of technology, right? Like they used this VR technology in such a way that users or gamers, the one who was playing this game, right, Pokemon Go, they became so interested. I used to see herd of people at one spot. Basically, I didn't experience it in the sense I was playing Pokemon Go, but that was where I saw the power of AR, right? So the
Yeah,
power of augmented reality was on this camera. They were overlaying these Pokemons,
right.
and using this app, if you are in that location and within a range of that Pokemon, you can swap it and capture that Pokemon. 2015 was the turning point for augmented reality because of this global phenomena that happened with Pokemon Go, right? The app became viral very quickly, right? If you see that simple game, it opens a big possibilities of all the augmented reality applications, and we have seen that, right? We have seen many companies now going through augmented reality upgrades, right, for their whole ecosystem.
I think the development for AR was obviously going on for a long time. I think military has been using AR for either like flight simulation, weapon assistance, etc. But like you are right, it probably went viral with Pokemon, where like everybody started using it and
Yes.
found it like to be a very an experience which made you go, wow, this is totally like different.
Right, it opens up, like you can start thinking about more applications of AI, right, once you see it
Yeah,
working with, like, I think we covered the history part of it. um, I want to talk about some of the current developments that are going in AR VR space. If you see VR space, right, definitely there is a lot of development going on VR space. As you said, right, Meta is putting all their money into that. On AR space, I want to touch base on what are the applications that are currently already in the market with augmented reality capabilities, right? So the biggest current development that I came across was Shopify, right? So Shopify has this AR experience in their app. So in that, basically, you scroll through the products, and the product that you like, you can basically tap on that and try to place it in your surroundings. So um, in this video, basically, what you are seeing is you select a product that you like, and then you place it on the table, and you can rotate it.
Wow,
You can
that was cool. Rotating it, right?
basically, you get to feel it how it will look in that surrounding,
Yeah, that still
right?
looks great. So in this case, the real world is basically the table and the vase behind the books, but the digital overlay is the vase.
Basically, the product that you are buying,
Yeah,
right? So it can have multiple applications, right? Like you can have a painting, right? You can try out that painting. How does it look on your wall?
yeah,
Um, so I think Shopify did an amazing job in this. I will say.
yeah. I've never purchased from Shopify, but this looks amazing. Like it would make my buying decision much more easier. Either either I end up buying because I like it or not buy, right? So better
But
for the
you will
customer.
of it, right? Like it will make your buying decision. It is more like satisfying customer, right? Kind of.
Yeah.
So
Even satisfy. I think it's good for the seller also because you'll have less returns because you have already tried it out. So you have much less returns and all. Yeah.
so Shopify has smaller size products, right? But think of big size products like a furniture, right? IKEA is one of the companies who has adopted AR. Uh, Using IKEA's app, basically you can select a furniture and you can place that furniture in your living room, dining room, bedroom, right? See the amount of savings that is going to bring in, right? Earlier, I remember when I was buying furniture, I used to measure everything with a tape, uh,
Yeah.
note down all those measurements, and then when I'm buying the product, I have to like again measure the product dimension and check whether it fits the size or the look of it. Um, Now you can probably select multiple products and overlay on your actual surroundings to see how they look.
Yeah.
So see the amount of savings will be tremendous, right? Before even starting shipping, before even starting selecting products for checkout, you can try out in your surroundings and then make a purchase decision. So I think first thing is definitely customers are going to be more happy with their purchase decisions, and second is there are fewer returns. So overall,
Yeah.
the business margins are going to improve with augmented reality.
I actually saw a cool video about, I think it's from Nike,
Okay.
about shoes, right? One challenge with shoes has a lot of very high returns because either you don't like it once you get it or it does not fit you well. So I wanted to show you this video about trying out shoes using AR.
Okay. So in this, wow. So basically, just
Just
you are
hold
wearing.
your feet, and it's like a Instagram or a Snapchat filter, but for your legs, right? Yeah. Another cool application is for trying out your spectacles. And Warby Parker has a great augmented reality app.
Oh wow, man.
And this is something I have tried out myself and it works remarkably well. Right? It's very, very good. And
Like
it's
when
perfect for trying out glasses.
so when you showed me this video, I wear glasses, right? And the
Yeah.
biggest problem when buying glasses is I have to try out so many, right? At least 10 to 15. And for me, it becomes too hectic. Like, why I'm like changing everything, looking and seeing whether it fits or not. And then
Yeah.
again, so with this, with a button of click, you can keep on changing, and ultimately you can figure out one or two and then try it out and then finalize one. Other applications that are in currently being used for AR, one of them is like Google Maps Live, right? That is one of the most useful applications that I have seen for AR. So in this, yeah, video, you basically have a camera and you have said that this is the destination that you want to go. And basically, you can see on Google Maps Live, it is showing you the arrow where you should move from your camera, right? You have turned on your camera and it is showing you that you probably should take right turn,
Yeah.
right? And as you walk, these arrows will keep guiding you. Like, yeah, basically, it is on the fly, it is giving you information about the street as well. Basically, Google Maps Live was one of the biggest like best examples, I will say, for augmented reality application, right? They have made it amazing in such a way that it guides you to the right destination, it gives you information about the street, and the last piece that they showed was overlaying some pet or something
Yeah.
on the live surroundings, right?
Google
So
Maps,
yeah.
I have said earlier as well, it's one of my most favorite apps. And I am a kind of person who has no sense of direction. So whenever, let's say, I am on a street and I am looking for some walking directions, I will inevitably start moving in the opposite direction of what the map says. So, but with something like Maps AR, it I have used it myself, and it's very powerful, right? Just last week I was in a mall and I was trying to find a shop, and I thought, okay, instead of wasting time, let me just turn the AR on, and it gave me like really good directions. It immediately detects that what are the shops next to you, which is just magical. How well it does it, right? So yeah, that's a great application of AR.
One last application I would like to talk about is Ankur. Have you tried Skyview?
No.
Ankur, basically, Skyview is an application. It uses augmented reality in a perfect way, right? So what you do is, at like, I'm very interested in stars, right? But I don't have enough knowledge or information to understand which star is what, like what is the name of the star, right? So you take this Skyview application and you point it to a star in the night sky, and it will tell you exactly what is the name of the star. Or yeah, you can see this, right?
This is awesome.
It will basically, you just have to point it to the sky, right? And it will tell you like which constellation it is,
Yeah, this is
and it
awesome.
will
I love
form
this.
constellation as well. And using this application, like, if you want to search where is International Space Station right now, it will
Yeah.
give you you move your phone in that direction and you will find out where uh, a space station is, International Space Station is.
Wow, amazing. For people who are listening to this podcast, we are actually looking at a video where you have this app called Skyview, and you can point it at the night sky at some stars, and it actually uh, draws the constellations or something of interest in the sky, which is great for getting your kids interested about astronomy. Or if you are an astronomy enthusiast, it's great for, like, so I think we should try this out in our camping trip. I think it's going to be a clear sky. No, I'm serious. I don't know if it requires internet connection, but
I
I'm definitely downloading this app so that I can actually try this out. My kid is going to love it.
So, Ankur, we have talked a lot about AR and its current developments. What are the current developments in VR space? Can you shed some light?
Yeah, so the VR also is starting to see a lot of applications, and especially with I think Meta pouring in so much investment into VR, and with their new headsets, the Quest 2, the Quest Pro getting launched in the last couple of years. they have a lot of applications. The application that I feel is one of the most powerful, and I think can become very common with tech workers like us, is actually using the head mounted display for your extended screen, right? So we are getting into the, I wouldn't call it a completely VR experience. It's probably gets into the AR space as well, but I thought that this is something that I would definitely want to try out sometimes, and maybe this becomes my like work setup. So let's look at it. So this guy is actually holding a Quest Pro device, and he will show how to use it for your like work extended screen. So we have just the laptop here, and he wears the device, and it's
Wow.
completely transformed. Now you have uh, almost a three screen display. So you can, he's actually controlling those displays with with his hands.
Wow. So I think with this application, you basically don't have to buy big monitor anymore, right?
Yeah,
Uh, I
your
I know that.
monitor space is basically unlimited,
Yes.
and it's configurable. So some of us like it, like our monitors to be vertical, or we want like a two monitor setup, three monitors. Now it's up to you, in your control. And a lot of us need to travel for work, right? Especially in the remote world where you have to like go for offsites, or you are in the hybrid world. Sometimes you have to work from home, and some days you are working from office. And a lot of times it's very difficult to replicate the same setup in both the places. So with this, you can just travel with your head mounted display device, and you have the exact same configuration irrespective of where you are located. So I think this, like, I am willing to pay like a good amount of money if this thing really works well for me, right? And companies, I think, will be ready to reimburse employees. Most of the companies have some kind of tech budget or device budget, so they will be like happy to do that. So you can completely get rid of all your monitor expenses with this device. So I
I,
love this application of VR. So yeah, so that's one of the applications that I like. The second application that I think will again be very common in the future is having virtual reality meetings, right? Now that the world has moved to remote work, and we all are working on Zoom or Google Meets, which works pretty well. I think there is a gap in terms of the human connection between your employees or managers and their team members. VR can solve that. And I want to show you a demo from a company called Meet in VR, and their application is available on the Meta VR marketplace. You can basically, if you have a VR device, you can go and basically try it out. So let's have a look at it. Yeah, so everybody has the Quest Pro device, they wear it, and now they are transformed into a virtual meeting place.
oh my.
So you can have the whiteboard sessions that we all miss a lot, people who are working remotely, or like actually looking into your colleagues' faces, sharing notes, having
Okay.
some sessions together. So obviously, this right now looks a bit cartoonish,
Yeah.
uh, right? But yeah, this is just about time, right? Like everything, slowly the fidelity is going to improve, and right now they are basically cartoonish avatars, but very soon they'll be like your real life ish avatars, and the feeling that you will have interacting in the virtual world would be like much closer to like interacting somebody in person, right? That's what I feel we are headed. I know like a lot of people are does not feel the same way as me. But I think that's where we are headed. What do you think?
So I have one question to you about this, Ankur.
Yeah.
So let's say one does something wrong in virtual meetings, right? There can be multiple ways of doing wrong things, right? So now, how do you take it in a legal way, or how do you take it, right? It's a very corner case, very edgy thing. Hopefully, it will not happen. But even if there is a 1% chance, how do you feel about it? And do you think there should be a legal aspect around that, or it should be just taken very lightly?
Yeah, I'm obviously not a legal expert, but this is how I think about it, right? Does not matter whether you are virtually in wearing a headset, or you are over a Zoom call, or you are in person, right? What matters is, did you do something inappropriate, and did your action actually lead to some kind of harassment, or some kind of uneasiness for your colleague, right? So yeah, like if you did something that disrespected a person in front of you, whether you did it in person or in the virtual world, does not matter, right? So you have to be respectful. So I think it is wrong. Now, what should be the action? I don't know. Like that depends on so many factors. What are
Yeah,
the company policies, the state's policies, the country's policies? But
yeah,
I think human beings are, we understand like how people feel, irrespective of the medium in which we are conversing. Like I have used Zoom or Google Meet for so many years now, and most of the times it's like very pleasant, like nobody does anything inappropriate. But there are times, as you said, there will be some edge cases when some people might end up doing something, right? So
yeah.
it depends on how you feel, how you made others feel, and how you feel about your action. So
I correct, right? Even if it is a like we have online meetings now, right? But it doesn't mean you can literally abuse someone online, right? In online meeting, and you can say, "Hey, I was not in person, right? So I didn't said anything." So you should like be held accountable. Either you are in virtual world or in real world. And one good advantage about all this is all this virtual meeting will be recorded at some place.
exactly.
So, in a real world where you miss evidence for wrongdoings, in virtual world, actually you will have evidence already there,
Yeah.
right? So it's a good thing in one way. The only thing is, I think the policies around be like if you are in a virtual world, you have to behave as if you are in person, and you have to respect others.
Yeah, like you're right, because everything digital can be so easily recorded and logged, and we can go back and kind of do a post-mortem on it. So it actually makes people probably behave in a more responsible way, because
Yes,
things are like recorded.
I think yeah, that's amazing. Good discussion.
Yeah. Another application that I want to talk about is like doing physical activity or exercise using like these devices and in the virtual world, right? So I was checking out various applications on Meta's platform, and one of the apps that I really liked was this one called Supernatural. So this actually lets you work out in the virtual world, right?
Nice. It's like almost playing a game and doing your workout.
Yeah, exactly. Like I am somebody who does not like enjoy going to the gym, but I would love to do something like this, right?
Yes.
So I thought that this was like very, very apt application of virtual reality.
Yes. Basically, it is allowing you to get into a world where you will get your exercise in a fun way.
Yeah. So we obviously we personally haven't used this app called Supernatural, but I just like browsing through it, and I came across this. And what's great is like I actually was kind of trying to understand are people really using it? It seems like this is a very popular app. So this is like almost like 4.5 out of 5 rating, and then there are like almost 11,000 ratings. So it seems like this is one of the most popular VR
Yes.
apps for exercise, and people are really like liking it and finding value out of it, right? So if you look at actually read the reviews, which I did, because I really wanted to get the feel that are people shifting towards this technology. It seems like they are. So um, this was a pretty cool application that I thought I would show you.
Nice.
There are many other applications of VR, the biggest one being like gaming. And I think gaming is something we all are kind of pretty aware of. So I think we can skip that.
For the next set of topics, I think we should definitely touch base on the challenges that are in this field, right? If I look at it from top view, it looks like there are a couple of technical challenges. First is the optics, the field of view of all these devices. So when you wear this headset, it is not as if your natural eyes, right? You can easily sense what is going on your left side, what is going on your right side, and you know exactly precisely how much to move to look for an object on your right? With these devices, the optics is not of high quality. So basically, the field of view is very narrow. And basically, your brain is not trained to move your head in a position to locate an object which is on your right or left side. The other is very important, and I think Ankur, you might know more than me. The form factor of the hardware, right? So right now, all the head-mounted devices their weight is very big. Like they are really heavy, right? So it is very difficult to wear them for even more than couple of hours, right? So
Yeah.
when you say you want to do meetings in all these VR worlds, definitely all this big huge devices on your head, right? And definitely you are going to get tired with this. So I think the form factor needs to have some development. It should become very light. Like it should be like the ideal case will be like my specs. If we
Yeah.
can if we can reach that piece of technology where a spec can provide me a complete AR VR experience, that will be the best case scenario, right? Because people like we are very used to wearing specs. Form factor is very important. What are a couple of challenges that you have seen, Ankur, in this space?
Yeah, I have so much to say on this. I think we are at a very early stage of VR right now, right? The challenge is that the expectation has been set in such a way that people who buy a VR device um, kind of expect in a lot of ways that it's going to mimic your real world experience of like interacting with your friend who is sitting next to you, right? I think that's the north star for all of these companies who are completely invested into VR, like Meta. They want to get there, right? But it's going to be a multi-year, probably like almost a multi-decade journey to get to that state. So I think the way I am thinking about it is there are like 5 senses that we have, right? So sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste, right? 5 different senses. And if you can get all these 5 senses right, then you get like the sixth magic sense, which is like an emotion, right? You get wowed and you remember something, and you are basically transported, right? So I think companies like Meta are trying to nail down all these 5 senses, right? So
Okay.
sight is something that I think that they have made a lot of progress in, but as you said, still the fidelity is not like watching somebody in real life, right? And there are a lot of technical challenges. The problem is you basically have two screens and two lenses inside the head mounted display, right? And both of them record, and both of them needs to be processed quickly, and has to be shown to you almost with zero or minimal latency. And the problem is the way our physiologically our brains are wired is the moment we have some kind of latency, we start having these headaches,
Mhm.
feel like this uneasiness. That's why you will hear a lot of people saying that, hey, I love the experience of wearing one of these head mounted displays, but after 20 minutes I don't feel great and I have to take it off, right? It's basically because of that latency. So all these companies are trying to like reduce that latency while increasing the quality of the thing that you're seeing on your screen, right? So that's one challenge, and I think it's just a matter of time and investment by this like amazing companies. Like they'll figure it out over a period of time, right? Next thing is like audio. I think audio is the area in which the companies have made like great progress. So you get like stereo sound, you get the effect that if something is moving behind you, like a real world auditory experiences you can get today. So audio, I think, has made a lot of progress. Then there is the touch aspect of it, right? Touch is basically the haptics. So these companies are investing in haptic gloves, haptic suit, full body suit, wherein if you are, let's say, playing a game and you get hit by a bullet, there will be like a small motor which will kind of mimic something hitting you, right? So, or if you are touching surface, the gloves can actually mimic the experience of touching something, right? So, again, I think we are at a very early stage in the haptic feedback, but like a lot of companies are like doing a lot of interesting things there. Then you have the smell or olfactory feedback, right? In my research I found out that there are companies which are actually building devices which helps you experience smell. So if you
Yes.
are like in your virtual world, you are smelling rose, you'll actually feel the smell of rose. Or if you are, let's say, sitting by a campsite cooking marshmallows with your kid, you can actually smell that, right? And I'm going to show you a few videos of those things. And then
All
the
right.
last one is taste, right? And it's a very very nascent stage, and but there are a lot of research that's happening that's related to taste as well.
Oh
So
my.
let's fast forward 10 years from now, and I think we'll probably be at a we'll make a lot of progress across all of these five senses, and we'll probably be in a world wherein my family in India, they are sitting like hundreds of miles away from me, and I have not been able to travel there for a couple of years, but I can still, in this virtual world, experience all of these things, which is like seeing my loved ones in great fidelity, hearing their voice, the way it will sound when I'm in front of them. Maybe there is the hustle bustle of an Indian bazaar in the background, and then I can really smell the curry that my mother is cooking, uh, and maybe even taste the curry. So that to me is just mind blowing if we can get to that uh,
Yeah.
state, right? So there are a lot of challenges. So for these companies, there are just a lot of challenges. It's extremely complex technology, and I think that is why it is so interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like Meta gets criticized a lot for like a lot of things, but I think these are extremely bold step
Move.
by Meta to actually venture into virtual reality and trying to like make this like come to life, right? So yeah. Yeah, like I talked about all these different kinds of challenges. Maybe we can look at some of these videos together, and I want to see how you kind of react to this. So
Sure.
maybe let's start with haptics.
Okay.
So I talked about the sensors for smell, and I
Mhm.
wanted to show you this video which is related to smell. Okay, so in this video, this person is actually wearing a head mounted display which has a sensor for smell as well, right? And they are
Okay.
trying to smell a rose in front of them, and the person is actually lowering their head and taking their nose close to the rose flower, and they can actually get the smell of rose,
Wow.
right? Which is a very, very unique smell. And then later on in the video shows that they are sitting in front of a campfire and they can smell the fire.
Oh, nice.
What's really interesting is I feel smell is one of the most primal senses. It is very powerful. Like, we don't talk about smell a lot, but I think it has the closest relation to our brain. And by smell, it can immediately transport you to like some kind of a past memory very, very quickly, right? Like the smell of a fresh rain, it's a very unique smell. Or like a particular perfume smell that you are very used to in your childhood, it can immediately transport you to your
Yes.
childhood days and all that, right? So yeah, I thought this was really fascinating. I had not seen this. What do
So
you think?
with when you showed the campfire thing, and you said that you can really smell that environment, right? I'm thinking people will start wearing these headsets and go for camping, right? They don't have to literally go there, right? Like you can feel
Yeah,
like in your backyard, right? Let's say your whole family is wearing this headset and they are in a campsite now. In your backyard, you can do this.
yeah,
And you can literally start a campfire, smell that. I don't know. You are saying there is a way for taste, right? Taste sense will also be there. And yeah, I think I'm really really interested in this now. Like how when this technology is going to be available.
yeah. And I think I want to show the last one because you talked about Counter Strike, like how, like what's the next version of Counter Strike going to look like. One thing you had to do in Counter Strike was to, like, if you were a counter terrorist, you had to run after the terrorists, but you are actually not running, right? You're just pressing some buttons. But with virtual
Yes.
reality, you can actually mimic the whole running, jumping, crouching, etc. So see this, there is something called the omnidirectional treadmill, which
Okay.
lets you mimic actual, like, running, jumping, etc. So that's the omnidirectional treadmill this guy is working on.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
You can crouch, kneel.
Oh my God. So this is he was doing a backward move as well. Wow. This
Yeah,
was this was amazing, Ankur, because this is basically for me this is the next level of like gaming will be like you physically doing it and experiencing it in VR, right? Oh my God, like amazing. It is not no more just pressing a button and playing a game. It is basically you are physically playing a game in a VR world, right? Wow.
yeah, yeah. I think the challenges, like, if we have to get back to the challenges, I think one of the challenges that Meta has had is people have some preconceived notion. They associate the whole VR or metaverse to, like, not so positive connotations, and it's to do with, like, everything that happened before that. We give Meta a tough time. Uh, I personally, after, like, researching for this podcast episode, I feel like I need to, like, get closer to this technology and try out things using a VR device for extended display, or actually playing a couple of games, or trying out something related to fitness. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think changing that image is one of the challenges for VR in general.
Very clear that yeah, there is a stigma around this.
Yeah,
We know that. But there is one more aspect I would like to share with you, right? I have played games a lot. Like at one point, I was addicted to games, to be honest, right? When someone tells me to have this VR, I know it is very powerful technology. And Actually, because of that, I know that it is very technology. I'm worried that if I start engaging with this technology, I will fall into a trap where I will always love to be in a VR or AR world. And I will probably slip on my responsibilities that are in my real world. That's my biggest fear. So I know it sounds little crazy,
No, no, it is not. Yeah.
but I think that's my because I have played games, and I used to play for like long time, right? Skipping some of my work in my childhood, skipping some of my studies, and playing these things. It made me like more cautious to say, "Hey, let's stay away from this immersive experiences because they are so like addictive, right?" Means I love the technology, I know the power of it, but on the other hand, I am worried that it might distract me from my real thing.
Yeah. I think you're probably not alone in that. I don't feel it so much because I was never addicted to games so much. I think there is always kind of a fear because it's unknown world, right? So you feel like today we lot of us just spend so much time looking at screens, including kids, and that's not a good thing, right? Like we need to like spend more time with each other, but then it adds so much value as well. Like we can talk to our friends who we have not talked to for a long time, or we can stay in touch with your families like who are like hundreds and thousands of miles away from us. So there is like a yin and yang to every technology. So I think it's the same with VR as well. The challenge
Yes.
is, or the fear is, it's so immersive that maybe we'll start like disliking our real life
Yes.
and maybe like prefer the virtual world to it, right? So, and it's good to be aware of that rather
Yes.
than like not being aware, right? So you're doing a good thing. So you are aware. So you are deliberately trying to stay away from it, right?
Yeah.
So
To be honest, I don't think the technology is at that level where it is very useful on day-to-day basis. I think it is very useful on occasionally experiencing something. But definitely, like with the remote work coming in, and if the possibility of all the VR meetings becomes a reality, we will definitely have to adopt with that, right? But yeah,
yeah.
I'm worried on the uh, amusement, social, and entertainment space over there because it is really, really addictive, right?
All right. So we talked about quite a few aspects of both AR and VR. Maybe we should talk about the future of AR and VR.
So, with I will like to talk a little bit about AR because AR is already being used in multiple industries right now.
Yeah.
But the real potential of AR will be seen like in next I will say maybe 3 to 4 years, right? Where I think two industries, two areas, two sectors are very like prime to be using augmented reality, right? One of the area is education, right? I will tell you like my personal experiences when I was studying. I was very curious, like everything that I was reading in the textbook, how does it look like in real world, right? But I don't think it is practically possible to keep all the models that we study at one place in a school, right? Because they are really costly models. Like I was really curious at that point of time, right? And I was asking my teachers, my professors, like, where can I see this? And then they said, oh, this model is present, like it is physically there in a university which was like, I don't know, 500 miles away from my home, right? And I cannot go 500 miles, like travel 500 miles just to see that one model, right? Because in the next chapter there will be another model which will be like 400 miles away again from my home, right? So it was practically not possible to go through every model and experience it. So I used to take like whatever I was reading in the textbook, I used to take it, okay, this is how it might have been, right? It was an assumption at that point. I know those scientists have done amazing job to write it as descriptive as possible, but still
Yeah.
feeling it, experiencing it is a different thing rather than just reading it, right? So with augmented reality, every classroom will have just a piece of that model. There will be a headset, and you can basically wear that headset, and there will be hundreds of models in that. And you can experience, you can overlay that in your classroom and discuss it with your professor, with your peers. You can literally play with it, right? You can try to see different configurations if there are some configurations that are possible in that model. So I think education is a field which is gonna have a drastic impact on the way it is being done today, right? With AR is gonna change all that landscape. All the practical lab experiments and everything that you have, they will be probably guided. Like
Yeah.
so, you wear these glasses, and they will tell you in a lab environment what to do next. The instructions will be projected, like pick this thing and add it on this thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
so see the like I think education field is gonna take a lot of good things from AR.
Cool.
So parallelly to that, there is one more field which is primed to be used for AR, right? That is healthcare. So in healthcare, basically today, I will tell you, right? Let's say a surgeon wants to operate something. It is basically all his practical knowledge and practice that he has done, which will help the surgeon to operate, right? But everything doesn't go as planned, right? You might have some surprises, and it is not possible to go back and start reading your books at that point of time to
Right.
understand if this was the case, what should I have done, right? If you are having this glasses which are guiding you, they don't have to read any books or anything, right? They will be probably at that point, these glasses will be already AI capable, and they will see the image live, they will compute it, and they will guide you exactly what to do next
Yeah.
by overlaying overlaying the instructions on the subject that you are working on, right? So the medical field is going to take a huge advantage from augmented reality,
Yeah.
and it is going to help patients, it is going to help doctors, and it is going to make the job much more simpler than what it is today, right? So there will be few errors in all these procedures.
Yeah.
I think augmented reality, I found augmented reality to be very interesting, right? Because of all these applications, practical applications. AR coming in, we have seen the generative AI developments recently, right?
Yeah.
If AI comes along, AR and VR are going to accelerate in their development, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the future looks really, really bright for both of them, AR and VR, right now.
That's a your AI point is very good, because one of the challenges with AR VR is like it's still not fully realized the potential, and you are right that AI can has the ability to fast track all of that by multiple years.
Yes,
So I hope that that happens. All the
means
cool technology we will be able to see.
if you think about this, right, to develop a virtual world, you need multiple developers who are making these VR objects for you and placing it in a right order, right?
Yeah.
If you give a sample model to AI and tell it, like, multiply, expand it to 10x, 100x, 1000x,
Yeah.
and the AI is so smart nowadays. It will see the model. It will see how to extend it. We saw, like, in our one of our episodes, we saw Google has created extending photos,
Yeah.
right? So the thing that was not AI was able to generate it by taking the context of the current image. So basically, in a similar way, you will give a VR model to an AI and tell AI, "Hey, keep on extending it," right?
Yeah.
And eventually it will create an amazing world for you within in no time, right? So
I think on similar lines, for VR, I am very bullish that it's going to help remote workers significantly in replicating all the good things about working in person. So, like, be it either improving their whole setup of working and the tools that they have, or like actually interacting with other colleagues, other team members in a group setting, like doing whiteboard sessions and all that. I think it will become very common for companies to have VR at workplace. I think the movie experience is going to, there's a lot of disruption that can happen there. Like your living room movie watching experience that we watch like Netflix or Hulu or Disney, whatever today, just on a TV. I think lot of things can happen there. Both AR and VR can completely like transform that experience for us. Probably there'll be like movies made wherein we can be a character inside the movie, right? And
Oh,
part of that entire storytelling. I'm sure that's going to happen. So
nice.
I think movie is ripe for disruption by VR. I think tourism is a big one. Like
Mhm.
I want to like visit I don't know, like Argentina or Brazil or uh, like Vietnam, and a lot of times either I don't have the time or the money, or maybe I'm not healthy enough to actually do the travel. Obviously, I don't think there is anything replacing real travel, but we can make it much more immersive than actually just seeing Patagonia mountains, right? Or going to Machu Picchu, like seeing that or experiencing that in VR can be like a lot immersive. So I think that is something that I would be interested in. There can be like great.
I'm really, really excited about the future of AR and VR, to be honest.
Yeah, so now that we are talking about AR and VR, I think something that's in a very near future is basically Apple's entry into the whole VR space. Very recently, there were rumors that Apple may be announcing their VR headset as soon as June. I think first week of June they have the WWDC, and there are a lot of speculation that that's the event when Apple will end up announcing their VR headset, and that will really make things very very interesting because Apple is obviously known for their devices and actually doing things the right way.
Yeah.
So Apple was apparently supposed to release this VR device in 2021. They delayed it to 2022, and then they're still not happy with where the device was, so they delayed it to 2023. And now they're saying that it's probably in a state that is like worth releasing to the general public. So if this is true, then we will probably have the Apple VR headset in a couple of weeks, and we will
Wow.
definitely talk about it in detail as part of the Tech Banter podcast. But here is an article from CNBC about talking about this whole Apple VR headset. So apparently there will be like hundreds of thousands of app available to
Wow.
use on the Apple VR headset. They're expecting it to be announced in the June WWDC, as I said,
Mhm.
and the cost is reportedly about $3,000, so significantly more expensive than the high-end Meta device, the Quest Pro, which is about $1,000 today, right? So three times. Um, but I know that Apple has the power to keep the cost high. Uh, I'm sure there will be like a long line outside the Apple stores to buy this device, even at such a high price point, right? So that's one thing. The other thing was it's apparently going to have external battery pack. So the battery pack will not be part of the head mounted display, but it's going to be like a power bank battery pack and you can put it in your pocket, which I think is a smart move because that significantly reduces the weight from the device, so you don't have to like carry that weight around in your head. And some other interesting points were, yeah, obviously Apple has a great ecosystem, right? Like Apple has your movies, apps, books, phone, iPad, everything already in its ecosystem. So you could probably like come up with so many interesting use cases of like combination of experiences with a phone, head mounted display, a MacBook and a head mounted display, an iPad, and all this, like so many combinations that can happen. So I think if Apple nails this, it makes the Apple walled garden even
Yeah.
more connected and difficult to leave. So
Yes.
yeah,
I
what do you
think
think?
Apple is known for its design, right? So if you
Yeah.
see any phone, right, the main important thing is the design, the way they have made it, right? They make a thing which always works. Like Apple iPhone, the motto is it will always work. Then they came up with this AirPods, right? Amazing design. Like there were earlier so many Bluetooth earplugs and everything, right? But when Apple AirPods came, game changer, right? Because the quality of sound, the microphone, everything works seamlessly. No complaint.
Yeah.
Now they are coming into a world where it is a very technically very challenging. We just discussed, right, how technically challenging this area is. And we are not talking in months or years. We are talking in decades to implement something in this, right? When Apple that they are ready to launch something, it is gonna be very, very exciting. That means they might have cracked some of the code, some challenges that people are still not able to do it, and they might have done that.
Yeah.
So I think we should, Ankur, we should keep our eyes and ears open and definitely follow this. And definitely, I think it will be a huge. I think all the listeners will be very interested to see what this Apple device is.
Yeah, this will eventually help fast track all the advancement because two big giants in technology, Facebook and Apple, both the companies I admire a lot, are into like investing heavily into VR. So they also have a lot of beef. As you are aware about the whole app tracking thing, which Apple
Yeah,
released, which made it difficult for Facebook to track their users, and
yeah,
that was a significant headwind for Facebook
Facebook.
uh,
Yeah,
in terms of their revenues and all that. So I think, yeah, it's a beef between these two companies, which is eventually I think good for the consumers. We'll have better technology, lower prices,
I
and
think one
yeah,
thing I was if this headset was like within consumer uh, purchase power, $3,000 for a headset. It goes into a territory whether you should buy it or you should wait for some more time, right? So I don't know. Maybe the quality is that amazing that the price that is rumored out might be worth it. Yeah, but I think for like if you see me, right, I will be like, first of all, I'm worried about this AR VR thing to engage with it. And then if I have to spend $3,000 to experience this for a couple of, I don't know how long I will use it. So I don't know. Maybe the cost might become a barrier at some point.
I mean, I am kind of on the same page as you, but I also know that I used to think in similar ways about MacBook, about an Apple Watch that I'm wearing, the Apple phone that I have next to me, and I'm recording this episode on a Mac Mini. So I was somebody who was like all my devices used to be like Android based or Windows, but here I am, right? So Apple is great at selling premium products at a very very high price point. So let's see how I'm actually so excited about this whole space. And yeah, so interesting that Apple is about to launch their VR. There is this little known company called Humane that launched a very interesting device couple of weeks back, and I want to show the demo of that device to you. All right. So the person you see on screen, his name is Imran Chaudhry. He is the head of a company called Humane, which was a stealth startup as recently as 2 weeks ago, and they were working on like a next generation device, right? He gave a sneak peek into the capabilities of this device in a TED talk, and they're calling it wearable AI device. And I thought it made sense to kind of see this demo as part of our AR VR podcast. So let's have a listen and then kind of react to it, right?
Sorry, this is my wife. I'm gonna have to get this.
So
Hello?
basically, it doesn't have a phone, right?
Yeah, so yeah, for people who are just listening, so this is Imran Chaudhry basically presenting a demo of this device called Humane. And while doing the demo at TED, he gets a call and he just raises his left palm up, and on the palm there is a projection of like a UI of his wife calling him, and he could like answer the call or decline the call. So he chooses to answer the call while doing the demo, and the display is basically on his left palm, right?
Yeah.
So let's continue watching.
Hey, Bethany. How's it going?
So yeah, like he goes on to like talk to his wife. So where is the device, right? Like it seems to the audience that the device is completely invisible, and he could
Yes.
just answer the call looking at his palm. The device is actually kind of clipped to his uh, just on his left chest jacket, and it's probably like 1.5 inches wide and less than an inch in height. So it's very very small. It's almost like invisible, right? And he goes on to kind of demo the device more. He shows the AI capability of the device. He asks a bunch of questions to the device. The device basically answers him. So this I thought was like a very interesting way of thinking about how the phones would look like in the future. Um, I would like encourage people to. We are not showing the full TED talk here, but please go search for human demo on HUMANE demo on YouTube, and you can see the complete video. It's kind of a teaser right now, but I think that technology has a lot of promise. That could
Yeah.
be the future of smartphones as well.
Yes. I think not only smartphones, I think this might become a future for your workstation also, right? Like projecting your keyboard, your screen on something, right? And then basically it will be kind of a small chip that you carry around everywhere.
Yeah. Fun fact is like the most of the human team, like including Imran, they were all like long timers at Apple. So
Mm,
I think Imran spent like more than 20 years at Apple, and a lot of their engineers, founding members are mostly like ex Apple employees. So that gives them a lot of credibility
yeah.
about what they are building. So that's something that we are going to we'll keep tracking what they are doing, and hopefully talk about it in future episodes. So yeah, I think that's all for our very long episode on
Eh,
augmented reality, virtual reality.
Yes.
Um, So, what did you? How do you feel, Vishal? Tired after a long episode?
I think with this episode, right, one key takeaway that I will say is I see AR and VR are at a place where they are gonna have rapid development, and this rapid development, basically, in future we will have more applications of AR and VR, and it will be part of our day-to-day life. So I think, yeah, I'm really excited to see that future. How about you?
I am also like very very excited. I think AR VR is going to completely transform the way we experience the world around us, and I am actually excited about all the positive things that it can lead to. Um, and I am actually like away from my family. My kid is born in US, and he has not interacted with like his extended family in India ever, because he has not traveled to India, right? And I feel like this VR AR technology has the capability to kind of bridge that gap, like the physical gap that we have, um, and like make us feel more connected in the future. So, and I love all the amazing technology in this space. So I really thoroughly enjoyed like researching about AR VR and knowing about all these amazing things that are happening in this space, because like I don't work in AR VR, so I was not like super aware of all of this. So this is very interesting. Like people who are working in this space are like, I feel like they're very lucky, and they're working on something super cutting edge. I am again like very very excited, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. All right, Vishal,
Yeah,
I think that's it for another episode of the Tech Banter. And thanks for listening. And see you in the next one.
cool.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.